Now down only 2-1 and in friendly environs, things look better for the Cardinals. They had 25-year-old Greg Matthews on the mound, and making his second start of the series for the Twins was Frank Viola. After 2 scoreless innings, Greg Gagne led off for the Twins in the third. The shortstop, who had hit only 10 home runs all season, got the Twins on the scoreboard with a shot off Matthews. The Twins knew now, at least, that they could hit the ball out of a park other than the Metrodome, even if it took their shortstop to do it. But this was still Busch Stadium, where they preferred unlikely TV stars to wear red. Tom Lawless came to the plate in the fourth with nobody out and Tony Pena on third and Jose Oquendo at first. With the count 0-1, Frank Viola delivered the pitch.
High drive to deep left field. Drive goes all the way back at the fence. It's gone.
The most irregular of the Cardinal irregulars, Lawless had only 25 at-bats during the season and had not hit a home run since 1984, and that was the only other one he had ever hit. Now he had nailed a 3-run shot off Viola to give the Cards a 4-1 lead. They would add 3 more runs in their own big fourth inning and took a 7-2 lead going into the ninth. Ken Daly had come on in relief of Bob Forsch in the 7th and now faced Kirby Puckett in the 9th.
To Smith, and the World Series is a best of 3.
Daly had been superb in relief, squelching a Twin threat in the 7th and holding them in check the rest of the way. But the hero tonight was Tom Lawless.
When I hit it, I knew I hit it good, but I didn't know whether it was out. But being with guys on first and third, I didn't run because I knew if they catch it, I can't pass up Jose anyways at first. So then I saw it hit the back of the wall, and I said, holy cow, the ball went out. And I guess I saw the replay. I flipped my bat and went, I just went blank there for a second because this never happened to me before, and I'm just happy for us and for the team and myself.
And as we join you, the St. Louis Cardinals take the field with Ozzie Smith doing his patented flip as we get set for Game 5 of the World Series. With the series tied at 2 games apiece, and tonight's lineup for Minnesota, Dan Gladden is in left field leading off. Then Greg Gagne hits second. As usual, Kirby Puckett is in the 3 spot. And the left-hand batting Ken Hrbek bats 4th against the right-hander Danny Cox. Gary Gaetti hits 5th. Tom Brunansky is in right field. Tim Loudner does the catching and bats 7th. At second base tonight will be Steve Lombardozzi, and the Minnesota pitcher is the right-hander Bert Blyleven. And for the Cardinals defensively, it's Coleman, McGee, and Kurt Ford in the outfield. Jose Oquendo moves in to play third tonight. Ozzie Smith at short, Tommy Herr at second, and Dan Dreesen at first. Tony Pena does the catching. Danny Cox is on the mound. Danny Cox is on the mound. Let's get the inside pitch on him from National League batting champion Tony Gwynn of the Padres.
When you look at Danny Cox's motion, you'd think every pitch is going to be a fastball. But in reality, he throws 3 different pitches: the fastball, the breaking ball, and the changeup. And I think the contact hitter has a better chance of putting the ball in play against him because he can wait just a little bit longer. Whereas the guy who's looking to try to drive the ball out of the ballpark, he's going to be fooled more times than not because, like I said, every pitch looks like a fastball.
And Danny Cox working tonight now on 3 days rest in what amounts to, Jim, a rematch of Game 2.
Certainly is, and that rematch, or the original game, ended with Blyleven besting Cox 8-4. Bert pitched 7 innings, 6 hits, 8 strikeouts, and Danny Cox departed in the 4th inning, made a series of bad pitches in that 4th inning. 6-run inning as it was. Before that, pitched pretty well. Gaetti hit a hanging slider for the only run up to that point. But he is a control pitcher, and 3rd straight time with 3 days rest. He's been 4-1 when he's had to do that, only won 11 games all year. So I actually think this is going to help his control. Loves the pitch here, 6-3 this year at home. Losing record on the road.
And it's conceivable he could come back with 2 days rest and pitch in Game 7. At least give Whitey few innings, 4 or 5 on Sunday if there is a 7th game. But right now, let's find out about Game 5 of the 1987 World Series with Dan Gladden to start things off. Gagne and Puckett to follow. It's much warmer tonight. We've had temperatures in the mid-40s. Tonight it's up to 60. It was very windy today, but that has died down as well. Ken Kaiser of the American League is the plate umpire along with the rest of the crew. And here we go as we start with a strike. Gladden 5 for 18 in the World Series. Dan, the leadoff hitter in his first year with Minnesota and the speediest of the Twins. And Cox's 0-1 pitch is outside. 1-1 the count. That's grounded to Smith. Patented Ozzie play. 1 away. So Gladden taken care of, and Greg Gagne is the batter.
Gladden hits this ball very well, and Ozzie Smith 1 step to his right, and a rather routine play.
Then again, they all seem routine when he makes them. I mean, he really literally, that's the one constant thing about the Cardinals. Don't hit a lot. Pitching has been shaky the first 2 games, very good the last 2, but their defense has been outstanding.
And wasn't that the case last night in what could have been a twin threat to get back in the game in the 5th inning? But Smith and Coleman making scintillating plays. That's grounded down to Tommy Herr. And Gagne is the second out. Quickly 2 down here in the 1st inning. And Kirby Puckett is the batter. The one thing that these 2 teams really do have in common, great defense. The Twins led the majors this year. They made only 98 errors. And the Cardinals, of course, when you've got Ozzie Smith and normally Terry Pendleton at third, as was the case during the regular season, and people like Tommy Herr and Willie McGee patrolling the outfield, the Cardinals made only 116 errors. And that's fascinating when you think about it. I didn't realize that until the graphic came up. Been a slow start each night. Strike. 0-1. Danny Cox with the 0-1 pitch. He works it in on him. They've been pitching Puckett inside the entire series, and he is 4 for 17 as a result. After a half, Minnesota nothing, Cardinals coming up. For the St. Louis Cardinals tonight, their lineup looks like this. Coleman to lead off, then Smith, then Herr. Dreesen is the cleanup hitter with McGee batting 5th. Kurt Ford is in right. Oquendo is at 3rd. Tony Pena drops to 8th. Danny Cox is the pitcher. And that lineup will be facing right-hander Bert Blyleven. 5-0 in postseason games through his career. The inside pitch on Bert from Paul Molitor of the Brewers.
What makes Bert so difficult to face is that he never really develops a pattern against any certain hitter. He can throw his fastball or curveball any time during the count. Now, he likes to keep the right-handed hitter honest by throwing that fastball in, which makes his curveball even more effective. Now, to approach a guy like Bert, you basically have to concede one of the 2 pitches early in the count. But if he gets the 2 strikes, of course, you have to just protect the plate.
Paul had arthroscopic surgery this afternoon on his, or a couple of days ago, I should say, on his right elbow to remove a floating bone chip. He's resting comfortably at home in San Diego, and we hope you get well. What a remarkable job Paul Molitor and Tony Gwynn have done, giving us the lowdown on the pitchers in this series.
Absolutely. A batting champion and a man who captured everybody's fancy this summer with the Brewers with a 39-game hitting streak.
So I guess you'd expect it from both of them,
yeah.
right?
Vince Coleman to lead things off, and Coleman takes a strike. Coleman, Smith, and Herr here in the 1st inning with no score.
I think an interesting point that Paul Molitor brought up was conceding 1 pitch. We saw up in Minnesota, it looked like he conceded the fastball, struck out the first time on 1, but looked for the curveball, hit it hard the second time. Tonight, first pitch, curveball, he took it right down the middle.
0-2 the count. Now back of Blyleven defensively, Gladden, Puckett, Brunansky. The infield, Gaetti, Gagne, Lombardozzi, and Herbeck, with Laudner catching and Blyleven pitching. And the only change they've made through the first 5 games. Last night, Newman started at second. 1-2 the count on Coleman. Top of the order last night did a decent job for the Cardinals. Coleman got on twice, Smith once, Herr 4 times. But for the most part, it's been tough sledding for them because the top 3, Coleman, Smith, and Herr, are a collective 9 for 47.
It's even more important for Bert Blyleven to keep the first 3 Cardinals off because they're the bulk of their running attack. And his one weakness, other than home runs, that's 46, is he gives up a lot of stolen bases of second base.
Good breaking pitch.
But also strikes out a lot of batters. He struck out 8 Cardinals in the second game in 7 innings. And this is how he does it. Shows you enough fastballs to keep you honest, and then the great curveball, unhittable.
I was just thinking the term good breaking pitch is really a redundancy with Blyleven. One and the same. Ozzie Smith, the switch hitting shortstop. 1-0 the count.
A lot of American League hitters will tell you they like to just look for the fastball because they figure if he's got his good curveball, you can't hit it even if you look for it. So you might as well look for something you can hit.
And you can't adjust to the fastball if you're looking for the local being the breaking ball. You can, however, adjust to the curveball if you're looking for the fastball.
Another curve in the count, 1-2.
See, if he has his good curveball, you're not going to hit it anyways. I mean, that's a given. And I believe from hitting off him in the '79 World Series, I mean, I hit one with a warning track. I figured that was like a base hit.
Smith hits a fastball down to second, and Lombardozzi throws out Ozzie. 2 down here in the bottom of the first inning, and that will bring up Tommy Herr.
I mean, why look for something you can't hit?
Whether it's the position of the pitch or a particular pitch. If you, as a hitter, and most hitters are, weak on balls up and in and down and away, why look for those particular pitches? Especially when you have the count in your favor. And that's a big, big part of hitting, having the count in your favor. And that's why it's so important from a pitching standpoint to stay ahead.
Blyleven starts in arrears, missing up and away, and the count 1-0 on Tommy Herr. Toward the middle, backhanded by Lombardozzi, throws him out. Great play by Steve. And at the end of 1, no score in Game 5. Steve Lombardozzi making a great play to end the bottom of the first inning. So each team goes out 1, 2, 3, and we go to the second.
Tell you, for middle infielders, you have to have more range on the artificial surface. Lombardozzi making a fine, fine play. And actually on natural grass, he's able to get in front of that ball and make a much easier play because the ball doesn't pick up speed, but it does on the rug. Good play.
Kent Hrbek now in the second inning. Hrbek, Gaetti, and Brunansky. Twins would like to get a little more punch out of their 3 and 4 hitters. Puckett 4 for 17, Hrbek 3 for 13, and now 3 for 14 as Dreesen takes care of him unassisted. 1 up and 1 down in the second inning, and Gary Gaetti comes to the plate.
3 out of 4 balls hit well tonight, but then again, Danny Cox is not an overpowering pitcher most of the time. 199 innings pitched, he gave up 224 hits. But what he does do is throw some ground balls, and he's thrown 3 out of 4 grounders tonight, something he didn't do that well up in the Metrodome. Got the ball up in the strike zone, that's not where he can be.
Once to this guy, Gary Gaetti, who put the Twins on the board with the home run against Cox in Game 2.
1 out, bases empty, and Gaetti takes a strike. 0-1.
Cox back in April pitched a complete game with no walks or strikeouts. So at 6'4", 225, he looks intimidating, and he can be because he's not afraid to come inside, but he is not an overpowering pitcher. He relies on movement of the ball.
Quickly 0-2.
Movement of the ball, and also he jumps at the hitter. That's why Tony Gwynn talked about every pitch looking like a fastball. Well, this is a fastball, but an excellent location, and it ties Gary Gaetti up.
Let's take a look. I think a slow motion of his. Now watch his left elbow. If it gets away from his body, it's nice and relaxed. His problem is when he keeps it too close, he pulls himself through too quickly.
Good breaking pitch. And Gaetti down on strikes. Pretty good little operation right there. 0-2 comes in and throws a breaking pitch away and gets him.
Well, not afraid to throw the same pitch that he homered on up in the Metrodome, because he knows if he's going to be successful, he's got to get the pitch in that location, and he did.
So 2 gone, and Tom Brunansky now. That's whacked into left field for a base hit. So Brunansky becomes the game's first base runner. A 2-out single here in the second inning. His 3rd hit of the series, and it will bring Tim Laudner to the plate.
That's an interesting point, Jim, because if you had your druthers and you were a pitcher, especially a pitcher who's not an overpowering pitcher like Danny Cox, you would prefer to get the low pitch, because if you're getting the fastball that's upstairs, a lot of times catchers aren't going to be able to catch those.
Well,
you'll
see
hit them.
what you just saw, which is Brunansky lining one to left, because the Twins are a much better high ball hitting ball club and fastball.
Now Laudner with 5 hits in the series. He and Gladden each with 5, and that's tops on the Twins. Brunansky at first base with 2 down. Brunansky, we mentioned last night, 11 steals, also caught 11 times. And they play a lot of hit and run with Brunansky on base. And to count 2-0. That's one reason that Brunansky, without what you'd call blazing speed, was able to get into double figures in steals. There's Rick Rennick sending down the signs from 3rd. 2 out with no score in the second. And 3-1. And he walks him. So a 2-out single by Brunansky, followed by a walk to Laudner. The Twins have runners at first and second, the first threat of the game, with 2 out in the second inning. And Steve Lombardozzi, who is 2 for 9 in the World Series, comes to the plate, a .238 hitter during the regular year.
You saw that outstanding play that Steve Lombardozzi made. That's one of the reasons when Ray Miller was manager here last year, the year before, he saw him come up. He knew he had quick reflexes, quick feet, pretty good throwing arm. Said, if we're going to have a good defensive ball club, we're going to have to maybe make a trade. Tim Tuffle went to the Mets, and Lombardozzi became the second baseman because of his range, not his hitting.
Lombardozzi, a home run in Game 1 in Minnesota. He hit 8 during the regular season. 2 on, 2 out, and the pitch is strike. 1-1. In the air to shallow left, and Smith goes out. Falls, makes the play, and the Twins leave a pair in the second after 1.5. No score in Game 5. Well, Tim, there have been a few strange happenings in the World Series. Tom Lawless, the most unlikely of heroes last night, but one thing has gone very much according to Hoyle. It's been the home field advantage for each team thus far.
Not only a home field advantage, but both teams have won 4 games in a row in postseason play. 4 for the Twins and 4 for the Cardinals.
I think what's going to be a factor tonight, Whitey Herzog brought up a Bach controversy with Bert Blyleven. Of course, you have to get on, and if the Cardinals get on, I think we're going to see some controversy about whether he stops when he's trying to hold runners on. Whitey said he balked 11 times in 7 innings the other night, 3 times in the first inning, and literally took away the running game of the Cardinals. Of course, also the 8-run that he had by the 7th inning helped to do that.
Well, the Cardinals had no base runners in the first, and now we start the second inning with no score, and Dan Dreesen to lead things off. Dreesen, McGee, and Ford.
Take a look at the right side of the Twin defense.
Dreesen, it's a high towering drive to right field, an easy play for Tom Brunansky, and 1 away. So Dreesen gone on a 3-2 pitch, and it will bring up Willie McGee. And McGee is the only Cardinal to have hit safely in all 4 games thus far. He has 7 hits, more than any other player in the World Series thus far.
Career high of 105 RBIs, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the fact that he hit behind Jack Clark. They pitched around him a lot, but also that he hit in the 5th spot for the first time this year.
Strike.
Or at least most of the season.
I thought of the left-handed batter. Lescano was the right-handed hitter. Joe LaFay was the left-handed hitter. In 83, the 0-1 pitch is grounded to the right side. And it's an easy play for Labardozzi. So 2 gone here in the second inning. Busch Stadium from the Goodyear Blip on a gorgeous night. Game 5. And one thing for certain, this is the final baseball game of the year at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Off day tomorrow, and then a day game, the first World Series day game in 3 years, coming up under the roof at the Dome Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time. Tudor and Straker. Strike to Kurt Ford, and it's 0-1.
I guess to clarify that home field advantage between the Cardinals and the Minnesota Twins, they've lost only 1 game in postseason at home. That was when the Giants beat the Cardinals in Game 2 here at Busch Stadium. The Cardinals won the last 2 here at Busch. Minnesota beat Detroit the first 2 at the Metrodome. Then Minnesota takes 2 from St. Louis. St. Louis 2 from Minnesota. Home sweet home.
I'll say. 2-1 to Ford, missing ball 3. 3-1. Cardinals in the series going with Ford in right and Oquendo at third against the righties. And then Oquendo in right and that man Lawless at third against left-handed pitching. And it's popped up. Gary Gaetti is there. And Blyleven has set down the first 6 at the end of 2. No score. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. Tom Kelly, the 37-year-old rookie manager of the Twins. And in his first full season, you'll recall last year, he succeeded Ray Miller on an interim basis, and then they made him wait. We detailed that for 7 weeks earlier in the series, talking about the fact that the Twins went managerless until Kelly was officially named the permanent manager on the 26th of November. Bert Blyleven now swinging and missing. Blyleven, the DH in the American League, so he hasn't hit as a Twin except going back to earlier in his career and then with the Pirates in the late 70s and 1980. 1-2, so he does have experience at the plate and is a lifetime 131 hitter. And we talked about it last night, the fact that Tim Stoddard got the last hit for an American League pitcher in 1979. Not a bad rip with 2 strikes, 1-2. Right into our field mic. Blyleven gone on strikes. That's strikeout number 2 for Cox. And here's Dan Gladden. And go back to Game 1 Saturday night in the 4th inning, when the Twins erupted for 7, and this broke it wide open with Bob Forsch on in relief of Joe McGrain, and into the seats as the Twins rolled to a 10-1 victory. Gladden tonight 0 for 1, grounded out in the 1st inning. 1-0.
Replay of that home run, to me, brings how big this ballpark is here. That ball might not have gone out of here. So this is a great pitcher's ballpark, tailored for the speed of the Cardinals.
2-0. And the power of Tom Lawless.
Yes.
There he is. He played himself out of the lineup. 3-0 the count.
You touched on it, Jim. Danny Cox, even though he's held the Twins scoreless through the first 2 1/3, is struggling. It's not really the results a lot of times, because if a lineup continues to hit the ball hard, you continue to fall behind. They'll get you eventually.
Gladden taking all the way in the count, 3-1. And Gladden is on, and so Cox continues to struggle. In the 2nd inning with 2 out, Bernansky single, the walk to Laudner, and now here in the 3rd inning, he walks Gladden with 1 out, and Gagne is the batter.
One of the hitters that Tom Kelly likes to hit and run with. Gladden, good speed. But one of the things that's not involved in the formula of whether you should hit and run or not is that Cox is struggling with a strike zone. He's already walked 2. and you try to choose a good pitch for the hitter to hit and run with. You want a guy who's always around the plate. Danny, most of the time he's around the plate, but tonight he's walked 2 and 2 1/3, so maybe that'll go into Tom's thinking.
Gladden at first base. 1 out.
25 steals on the year, so he can run, and Pena throws well. Caught 12 times.
Rick Rennick with the signs. There he goes, and it's fouled away, and the count is 0-2. 0-2 on Gagne. Got him.
Tell you, sometimes as a hitter, you think a pitcher's going to waste one, and with the count 0-2, he gets too much of the plate. Gagne just freezes on that fastball that really had a good part of the inside part of the plate. It's not that you look for a pitcher to waste one, but you kind of anticipate that he's going out of the strike zone, and a lot of times he surprises you by getting too much of the plate. That appeared to happen to Gagne then.
So Cox with 3 strikeouts, 2 down, and Puckett is the batter. And there he goes. It's a good jump. The pitch is outside. The throw is too late. Gladden got a great jump on Cox, and the throw was right there, but Gladden stole that one on Danny.
And he's had about three or 4 pitches to time him. Right there, you can see he's not even getting the ball to home plate. If you don't get it to the catcher in 1.4 seconds, and he does not release it within 2 seconds of the delivery, you don't have a chance. And that's the result.
Jim, were you conscious of that with a runner at first base?
Well,
Did you try to cut down on your stride?
Yes, and the only way to work that, you don't do it during the ball game if you haven't worked on it in between. If you're tall, you have to do that in a running situation. But you have a guy at the plate, though, that hit 28 home runs and hit 332, and you can't think too much about a Gladden and then let this guy beat you.
And Kirby Puckett, we mentioned before, they've been working him in, and they have been doing it with great success. He is 4 for 17, and Cox worked him inside in the first inning and got him to pop out.
All the hits he's got away, all the hits he's gotten are away. When they get ahead of him, they come inside.
Starts him low and away.
Now, I think he walked 32 times over 600 times at bat, so it gives you an idea. He's a pretty aggressive hitter, and you see from that stat over the course of his career, he's up there to swing.
And I wouldn't think there's any reason for Cox to pitch around Puckett.
And he gets the green light, 3-0, and grounds it down to Oquendo. Twins done in the third, no score at the end of 2.5 back after. This word from your local station. Well, the Major League mark most wins without a loss in postseason play. Lefty Gomez, the Yankees, with 6. Jack Holmes, who pitched with the A's and Dodgers in the period between 1910 and 16, with 5. Herb Pennock of the Yankees, 5. And then Bert Blyleven. The other 3, of course, did it all in World Series play. There were no such things as League Championship Series until 1969. But Blyleven in postseason play with a mark of 5-0.
Well, there's always been a knock that he hasn't been able to win the close games. He only won 14 1-0 victories. I mean, we're looking at a guy that has Hall of Fame credentials, and they do look at postseason play.
Jose Oquendo, the batter, and the count 1-1.
Chance to win 300 games because he seems like 15 wins this year, 17 last year. As we said, over 3,000 strikeouts. He said his goal is 300 wins and 5,000 innings.
He has 244 lifetime victories at the age of 36.
See, he's mixing his pitches. I think I'm more concerned with the pitch count. Changeup, which is his 3rd pitch, he's used very effectively when he's been behind.
That's looped down the line and left for a base hit, and maybe more. Gladden cuts it off, and Oquendo takes the big turn and holds. Jose Oquendo with the Cardinals' first hit.
You saw Oquendo grimace with that right shoulder. Gene Gieselman, the trainer of the Cardinals, told me He injured that shoulder last night, diving into foul territory, attempting to make a catch on a ball. A terrific play by Dan Gladden, especially since the ball got out there so quickly. This ball hit sharply. You can tell by the spin it's cutting away from Gladden, and Danny made a nice play, but Oquendo really looks in pain.
Still grimacing at first base as Pena stands in.
You might see Oquendo in motion here. Matter of fact, Oquendo and Pena last night worked the hit and run successfully before Lawless hit the home run, but it was reversed. Oquendo was the hitter and Pena the runner.
There he goes, and the pitch is grounded into right field for a base hit. And Oquendo is on his way to third.
With the count 1-2, do you think that Whitey Herzog would dare hit and run with Pena? Maybe.
Well, Blyleven's been around the plate all night, and again, Pena's strength is that he can expand the strike zone. You see Oquendo break. Pena doesn't care if it's a ball or a strike because that's the way he swings, whether anybody's on or not. It's a perfect situation with a guy that looks like he's around the plate and has command of his pitches. The only problem you have if he strikes out.
It is an interesting point because I remember Dick Grote telling me, and Dick Grote used to put his own hit and run play on. Dick told me that the best hit and run count was 1 ball and 2 strikes because that was the pitch in the situation where the pitcher wanted to get you out the most and finish you off. So it makes sense that Whitey Herzog from the old school, and certainly Dick Grote was from that school, and certainly they hit and ran then.
First and third, nobody out, and Danny Cox up there to swing away takes high, ball 1. 1-0. That's fouled back. Good rip. On the subject of contact hitters, what about Danny Cox? He was up 69 times this year, and he struck out only 25 times. I say only because for a pitcher, that's not too bad. That means you do make pretty good contact.
Well, here's a pitch he has to hit because he's going to see a curveball. He gets a fastball. Most likely that's what he's looking for. He's just looking for the ball. And now, old Uncle Charlie. As we said, Blyleven has a great curveball, and he is a strikeout pitcher.
And he's up there to bunt and lays it down, and Laudner and Blyleven converge, and it's Blyleven for the out at first base. Oquendo has to hold at third. Well, you never know what Herzog's going to do. He swings away, and then with 2 strikes he bunts, and the bases were almost loaded.
Why does he do that? Because he wants to stay away from the strikeout, and he probably knows something that we may not know, that Danny Cox is a good bunter.
If that's the case, why didn't he button up to 2 strikes? If he fouls this ball off, it's a strikeout. That's the second time that something happened with the count 1 and 2. Maybe that's a secret combination. I don't know. But it's a blueprint.
And the Twins are lucky to get 1 out here. Laudner going for it, but Blyleven picks it up, and Herbeck has to retreat to first and get on the bag. Oquendo at third, and down at second is Pena. Now the Twins have Gaetti playing up even with a bag, but they've got Gagne playing back at short, and Lombardozzi back at second with Herbeck up at first. So up at the corners and back in the middle with Coleman at the plate. Grounding it to Gagne, and he's going to come home, and he gets him. So Gagne, despite playing deep, and that time, I think what Oquendo had to think about as he was dancing off third was the fact Gaetti might have come up with a ball. And had Gary come up with it, he was thinking about staying at third. Here it is. You see, he thinks the third baseman, Gaetti's going to come up with it, and that enables Gagne to be playing deep and still get him.
That's exactly right. And with runners on second and third, if you're the runner on third base, you can't worry about the third baseman fielding the ball because you can always get in a rundown. Watch the jump Oquendo gets. The first move is staying there. If Gaetti comes up with the ball, you can always stop before you get to the catcher. But Gagne makes a very heads-up play. And that's a play that's more conducive to the rug than natural grass because the ball gets to you in a hurry.
Smith, outside, ball 1. So the Twins were ready to concede a run on a grounder to short. And the next thing you know, because of the indecision of Oquendo, they're able to throw him out at home, and a heads-up play by Gagne, of course.
That's a contact play where if the ball is put on the ground, the runner runs regardless to what infielder or pitcher. And you can always stop to give the runners a chance to move up.
2-0 on Smith.
And if you're wondering why he may be pitching so carefully to Ozzie Smith, well, he hit 335 from the left side, but normally he's been able to get him out. He faced him 14 times in the National League, struck him out 7 times, and this is a contact hitter. So you think he'd be aggressive, and he is.
But he grounds one down to second, and Lombardozzi throws him out. Blyleven works out of it. Cards leave a pair, no score, going to the 4th. Danny Cox, through 3, has allowed 1 hit. He has walked 2 and struck out 3.
Well, not that many pitches, Al, but from watching him and being a former pitcher, he is struggling only in the sense that I bet it feels like he's already in the 6th inning, because it's not smooth 3 innings. 14 pitches an inning is not a whole lot.
Kent Hrbek having a tough postseason. 3 for 14 in the World Series. Strike on a change, and it's 1-1.
I believe that's the first change he's thrown tonight. Now in the second game with the bases loaded, he threw 3 in a row to Randy Bush. He hit the 3rd one down the right field line for a double to really put him out of the game quickly.
2-1.
Jim, you and I were talking to Jim Fregosi, his old manager. He had Danny Cox and a lot of the players, the Cardinals, yesterday in the hotel lobby, and we were talking about that thing, the 3 straight changes to Randy Bush. Danny said, never again.
Well, you learn from your mistakes, and I think that's one thing that Mike Rourke emphasized yesterday was we sat down with Danny. He realizes what he didn't do right in Game 2. He's not on the top of his game, but he has shut him out for 3 innings, even though he's 3-1 on Hrbek right here.
And Hrbek hits it sharply into right for a base hit. So the Twins get the leadoff man on, and up comes Gary Gaetti. A look at Mike Rourke, and the other night it was Danny Cox in a fateful 4th inning when the Twins got 6, and he was bombed as the Twins were en route to an 8-4 victory and a Cox loss on Sunday as Gaetti gets ready to stand in. Meanwhile, Cox, a couple of dubious marks were tied the other night. Most earned runs allowed in a game, a mark set by 3-Finger Brown back in 1910, and most earned runs allowed in an inning, Hooks Wiltse, back in 1911. So a couple of marks that had been on the books for a long time, tied by Danny Cox. And of course, with Hrbek at first base and nobody out in the 4th inning, Cox trying to forget all about the 4th the other night. The mention of 3-Finger Brown brings up one of the more interesting questions posed this year. Ron Simmons, the great voice of the Oakland A's, mused one night this summer, how would 3-Finger Brown have handled the high 5? The 0-1 pitch is grounded to 3rd. Oquendo goes to her for 1 and too late back to 1st. So they settle for the force, and Brunansky will be the batter. I don't know that I've got the answer to that question.
I don't either. I'll tell you, this ball not hit sharply enough to get the double play. Oquendo making sure of 1 and her completing the play, but watch how the speed of the ball gives Hrbek a chance to get down to take her out just in case. Another thing about that graphic, I'll tell you, if I've got a name of Hooks as a pitcher, I'm going to change it. Hooks Wiltse.
You're right.
Change it to Fred Wiltse or something.
Oh,
anything
he's a great
but Hook.
curveballer. Great curveball. Hooks. That's what they call a curveball. The hook. He was Hooks. Threw more than 1 a game.
And Slider Brown, right?
Right.
I know one thing about 3-Finger on the high 5. He'd have given at least 60% effort. No question about that.
Got to hand it to him.
Oh, stop it.
Oh, groan.
Oh, 0-1 on Brunansky. 1 out in the 4th, and that's grounded to 3rd. Oquendo to her and back to Dreesen, but he can't scoop it. And so the inning is still alive. They only get the force. There's no error charged on a play like that because of the force at second base. And up comes Tim Laudner.
I don't know if we'll have a chance to see, but Tommy Herr This picture tells the same. You see Dreesen knock it down, but unable to come up with it. But Herr just kind of looked to the heavens. Routine double play, tailor-made, and wasn't able to complete it.
You know, and also sometimes it's not necessarily the takeout now as much as a takeout before. Herbeck got down there in a hurry because the ball was hit slower, and that may have made Herr rush the throw to first base. So Gaetti technically didn't take him out of the play, but Herbeck did, and that could have been the cause of the bad throw by Tommy.
So Bernansky at first base, and he goes as Laudner grounds it to Smith. Ozzie corrals it and throws him out. So the inning is over. No runs, a hit, and a man left. After 3.5, there's no score in Game 5.
See, of the two takeout slides, maybe it's the first one by Herbeck, as he does get to Tommy Herr. Gaetti safely at first. Now you see Gaetti, the second takeout slide, and he really doesn't affect Herr. He hits him after he makes the throw. So I guess it'd be reasonable to assume that possibly Herbeck was the reason for Herr's bad throw on the Bernansky play.
I think also, though, when a runner goes into second base, that he ought to be able to touch the bag with his feet or his hands, and Gaetti could not do that. That's how Tony Fernandez got hurt.
Herr lines one to Gaetti, who knocks it down, and it's time to get him. Plenty of time. One away, so Herr making good contact, but Tommy 0 for 2 tonight and 3 for 17 in the series as Dreesen comes up.
Just a fastball away, outside middle, and that's what Herr likes to do, hit the ball where it's pitched. He does, but Gaetti's standing right in front of it. That's how you win Gold Gloves. You don't catch him, knock him down, and throw him out. Goes back to what Tommy Herr said. I'm not getting a lot of hits, but I am hitting the ball sharply.
Outside to Dreesen. Well, both teams are having problems in the 3 spot. Herr 3 for 17. Puckett 4 for 18. Two balls, no strikes on Dreesen. 1 out, bases empty. Bottom of the 4th inning, no score. Lombardozzi can afford on Dreesen to play that much back of the line.
Later on, when Vince Coleman comes up with those 44 infield hits and 14 bunt hits, we'll take a look and see how he radically changes his defensive stance.
Ken Herbeck, 3 unassisted, 2 down. Blyleven has now set down 5 in a row. He started the game by retiring the first 6. And Willie McGee will be the batter. McGee grounded out in the 2nd inning. Red Schaindings.
Red is putting some sort of hex on the Twins. Now, Red's a major league manager for 12 years, and Red used to sit in that tunnel downstairs near the water cooler and put hexes on the opposition. It worked 2 years, 67 and 8, not the others, though.
How many World Series shares do you say he had? It obviously
this is
worked.
his 9th one. Yeah, he's 5 and 3 in World Series play. All of the World Series in which he's been involved have gone 7 games.
We'll see on Sunday.
2 with Milwaukee included, 57 and 8.
McGee fouls it off, and the count is 0-2.
Impressive thing about Bert Blyleven tonight, Ken, I think you noticed it too, is that he's changed his pattern. Curveball early, good enough fastball, and now they're looking for the curveball second time around, and he's going with a fastball. And what's interesting to me is he has the capabilities to totally switch it around the next time.
Oh, look at that pitch.
Down goes McGee, and it is a silent 4th inning tonight in St. Louis. No score as we go to the 5th. The good ship, Goodyear Blimp Enterprise. Drew Marshall at the controls, looking down. Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Game 5 of the 1987 World Series. No score as we go to the 5th inning. And Steve Lombardozzi to lead off. Last pitch of the 4th right here.
Well, they talk about Gooden's, Ryan's, and your release point is you throw it at Tim Laudner's left shoulder. That's what you aim at. And then the breakature of the ball down and in, and such tight spin, McGee doesn't pick it up.
Lombardozzi takes outside. 1-0. Lombardozzi, Blyleven, and Gladden. Those are the 8, 9, and 1 hitters in the 5th inning. Through 4. Blyleven and Cox very much in command.
as it's lined to center field for a base hit. So for the second inning in a row now, the Twins have the leadoff man on. Herbeck singled to start the fourth, but the next three Twins grounded out. And now Bert Blyleven comes up in a bunt situation. He struck out in the third.
And that's a sign of a young pitcher sometimes. You know that the pitcher's up second. And we talked about Cox having to get the ball down. He gets the ball up, you get the base hit. And the reason I say that is because you know that the pitcher is going to bunt. So he's going to give you the out. And instead of getting two sure outs, now you're going to have a man on scoring position in a 0-0 game. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and the odds of him getting the bunt down are good. Remember, we talked about Oquendo's bad shoulder loss from the slide last night, and Dreesen. Look at this.
Figure that one out.
He had to miss that sign, didn't he? He hadn't hit since 1980.
Well, that's what point. This is a point you brought up in production meeting. One of the most difficult things is taking a sign because you're not used to doing it all year long.
That's right.
So he may have missed it.
Now he's around the bunt, and bunts foul. We'll go figure it out. Danny Cox comes up in a situation in which he swings away, has 2 strikes on him, and then he bunts with 2 strikes, and then Blyleven comes out of the dugout and swings away. I don't know if it was a blown. Normally, when it's a blown sign, the batter steps out and the third base coach goes through the gyrations. I don't know now.
Or the hitter smiles.
Yeah, the hitter smiles or whatever. But the Twins just went about their business with Lennox at third, and Kelly in the dugout. And now he's up there to bunt, and he lays it down, and it's fielded by Cox, and he has 1 play. And so both pitchers are able to bunt successfully with 2 strikes as Lombardozzi moves to second.
And that's one of the reasons they made the lineup change. Laudner was hitting 8th or 9th with the DH, depending. They moved him up to 7th, Lombardozzi down to 8th for that precise reason. Easier to bunt over. It's very hard to bunt Tim Laudner off, especially with a pitching staff that has not bunted or hit all year long.
Oh, you might say to yourself, how can an 0-2 pitch be a mistake when a pitcher is bunting? I mean, really, that was a hanging slider and a very easy pitch to bunt.
Dan Gladden grounded out, drew a walk. Dreesen going out into foul ground and has room near the bullpen plate. And tagging at second, but only bluffing as the throw comes in, is Lombardozzi. So 2 down in the 5th inning with Lombardozzi still at second, and Gagne will be the batter. Danny Dreesen. He and Jim Lindemann platooning at first base in the absence of the injured Jack Clark. And there is Clark with trainer Gene Gieselman.
Spent a lot of time together lately.
Yes. Jack was a little upset during the championship series because the indication was that it was only a sprained ankle, when it was more than that. Of course, the Cardinals were trying to keep it a little quiet as well to make the Giants wonder. And Clark finally came out and he said, hey, wait a second, it's more than a sprained ankle. A sprained ankle and I'd be in there. And he hits it off the end of the bat to Danny Dreesen, who shovels to Cox. And we played 4.5 in Game 5 with no score. Back after this from your local station.
Now you can enjoy all the memories of the 1987 World Series with a copy of the official World Series program. With more than 90 pages of facts and figures, it's a real collector's item. To order your souvenir program, just send check or money order for $6 to World Series Program, Post Office Box 87, Trenton, New Jersey 08651. That's Box 87, Trenton, New Jersey 08651. Please include your proper return address.
The preceding was furnished by Major League Baseball.
Go back to Bob Gibson when he struck out 17. Who was the catcher? Tim McCarver.
And I think Willie Horton, the last strikeout victim that day, still thinks this slider hit him, but it didn't.
You set up outside and the pitch was inside.
Awesome. I mean, that ball must have broken 18 inches.
And here he is, 19 years later. 19 years. Busch Stadium had natural grass and dirt at that point.
1968.
Bottom of the 5th inning. And Kurt Ford takes a strike. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Busch Stadium. Game 5 of the World Series. No score. Blyleven and Cox locked up in this one. Blyleven has allowed just 2 base runners. Oquendo and Pena started the third with singles, but he worked out of it. 1-1 to count. And make it 0-2 on the appeal.
Lee Wire down at third calls this a strike when Tim Laudner asked him for help. And also, I assume Kenny Kaiser, the home plate umpire, asked him. Gave the affirmative call.
That's grounded to the right side. Lombardozzi to Herbeck. 1 away, and Jose Oquendo will be the batter. Well, coming up on Saturday, except on the West Coast, the rest of you will see Purdue against Iowa at noon, and that will be followed by Game 6 from the Metrodome at 3:30 Eastern and 12:30 Pacific. And those of you on the West Coast will see California taking on UCLA following World Series Game 6, Saturday. Jose Oquendo, 1-0 the count. Ripped into left center field for a base hit. Puckett will cut it off, and Oquendo again, that wide turn, and a base hit. So Jose is 2 for 2.
Tell you, a lot's been said about Rod Carew and the video that Jose looked at before hitting that home run you were talking about, Jim. And I'll tell you, he looks like a pup. Looks like out of the same kennel. Rod Carew and Jose Oquendo. If you're going to get a video, you'd get it after a guy like Rod Carew, whom you told me was the toughest out you ever faced.
Well, I only was, I think, 23 for 46 lifetime.
You had that?
Oh, yeah. Well, at least it was Rod Carew.
Got a lot of company. He could hit.
Pena the batter. Pena singled in the third. Oquendo at first base. And Blyleven throws over there. And no balk controversy tonight to this point. Of course, the Cardinals have only had 3 base runners.
And not really the right base runner.
Right. Oquendo has 4 steals this year.
And Potts stealing 4 times. So when he'll cheat is with Coleman, Smith, Herr, maybe McGee. McGee not running much this year because of knee surgery, but very effective as you look at Rick Hacker looking into the dugout.
He's looking for the sign. Maybe the first base coach gives the sign. Before Oquendo went the last time, Hacker went to his left cheek when Oquendo was looking over. So maybe Leiva's a decoy, and that'd be very unusual because you rarely see a first base coach give a sign to the base runner. But why would he be looking into the dugout if that weren't the case?
He bluffs going, and the pitch is inside. 1-1 on Pena. He goes, and the pitch is wrapped into right field for a base hit. And Oquendo goes to third.
Jimmy, hard to tell from that angle what the pitch was, but the first 3 pitches, he was trying to get him to hit a breaking ball or a changeup to the left side and keep away from this first and third situation with only 1 out. But here he goes with a fastball, exactly what happened last time, and Pena, you're right into his strength, but he's still got to do the job, and he does. And it's almost an instant replay of last time.
Yeah, it really is. Only last time it was a 1-2 count, 2 strikes and 1 ball. Very interesting. You know, it's really a guessing game when to pitch out, when not to. But the pitch out put the Cardinals in a position that time to put the hit and run in play because it was 2 balls and a strike. And there's no way, unless you got a lot of courage, to put the hit and run on or to put the pitch out on again.
Now we'll see if they can cash in as Cox up there to swing away, misses. 0-1. Leiva sending the signs down to Cox. 1 out, first and third. We mentioned before the squeeze was highly unlikely before first and third. Nobody out. A little more likely with 1 out.
Well, even if you get Oquendo thrown out at home, you have a runner in scoring position. The problem, of course, is and then Cox has to hit with 2 outs. So if he is a contact hitter, you might let him swing away, hope that he doesn't hit in a double play, a ground ball to the right side, or a fly ball scores a run.
1 with 1 out. Oh, and 2 as he swings away.
You think it's not tougher to pitch in the American League when they don't have a pitcher coming up? I mean, this is one of the luxuries, even though you have to earn your outs, whether it's a pitcher or anyone else that you have in the National League or during the World Series in a National League park.
That's why run production's up about a run a game, generally speaking, in the American League compared to the National League.
Remember 2 years ago in the World Series when Whitey had Tom Nieto squeezing with 2 strikes?
Yep.
And the squeeze is on, and he misses it, and he's thrown out at third. So Oquendo was coming in from third, and the pitch was up and away, and may have been a pitch out, and it was. And Whitey Herzog gets outfoxed by Kelly right there.
Got that right. That may have been a pitch out. As a matter of fact, he went after it. It's a double play.
Yep, because he strikes out.
Right.
He made the full effort to bunt, and so Kelly really did his homework as he thought back perhaps to Nieto 2 years ago. Strikeout, double play to the 6th inning, nothing. So we go into the 6th inning with no score. Puckett, Herbeck, and Gaetti coming up. Cox and Blyleven, and a bizarre and unusual ending to the 5th inning. We mentioned Tom Nieto squeezing with 2 strikes in the St. Louis, Kansas City World Series 2 years ago. There's Nieto in the middle of your picture, seated. He's behind
Sal Butera.
Behind Butera right now.
Sitting next to the clubhouse man, Jimmy Wiesner.
He was a Cardinal 2 years ago, and Whitey shocked everybody by having the yawning Nieto surprise everyone with a 2-out squeeze bunt, and he tried to do the same thing with Cox here and double play. Puckett takes inside, ball 1. Tom Brunansky, we understand, leaves his glove and his cap on top of one of our cameras as a good luck charm or symbol, as it's grounded to third, and Oquendo throws Puckett out as the Kirby's woes continue. 1 away here in the 6th inning, and Herbeck will be the batter.
I'll tell you, I'm not saying this after the fact, but it's very difficult to convince me that that 0-2 squeeze play is a good play, and I'll tell you why. In that particular situation, a pitcher, as you know, Jim, is more inclined to waste a pitch, and really nothing happens. If you waste a pitch, so it's 1-2. And that, in my opinion, is one of the biggest reasons that you don't squeeze 0-2, because pitchers are trained to waste pitches 0-2. The count's no balls and 2 strikes. Watch Loudner. Not only is it a pitch out, you got a free pitch out. Cox went after the ball, and Oquendo's tagged out. Double play.
So unusual, though, is he went after the ball after Loudner had caught it. The initial bunt really wasn't a bunt attempt. It's almost after he caught it, he went out there the second time, and I believe that's what Ken Kaiser called the strike.
Coleman and Herbeck gone, so 2 down, and Gary Gaetti is the batter.
Thinking about a shutout for either pitcher, Blyleven with 55 during his career, only 1 this season. Cox without a shutout this year. And as we said, pitched extremely well here at St. Louis, 6-3, and had trouble on the road.
1-0 the count on Gaetti. 2 down, bases empty in the 6th. No runs, 4 hits for the Cards. No runs, 3 hits for the Twins. 1-1. One and 2.
Well, really something that's holding true. Mike Rourke, who's a pitching coach for St. Louis, said that when you have a lot of ability, and the 2 pitchers we're seeing tonight do have that, all you have to do is make 4 or 5 or 6 pitches when you need to. Blyleven's done it to get out of a couple innings. Cox has struggled, but when he has to come up with the big breaking ball or run the ball in or down and away, he's been able to do it. That's why it's 0-0 going into the 6th inning.
2 balls, 2 strikes with 2 out and no one on in the 6th inning with no score. And he's pulled out on strikes. Number 4 for Cox. Nothing after 5.5.
Well, let's see. 12 times this year, 37 times in his career. So look out now if he feels like running. There he goes. The pitch, a strike, the throw on a bounce, too late. And that is number 100. 100 stolen bases for Vince Coleman. A remarkable weapon.
He got picked off the other night off second base because he was trying to get that extra step, but it's been just mentioned he'd rather run off second base than first. It's not even close. Lyon had a good ball to handle. Straight down, and here he comes. He's one of those guys that also picks up speed when he hits the dirt.
Some applause in the background. They put it up on the board. Stolen base number 100.
Goodyear blimp hovering high above Busch Stadium. Right. On a beautiful and clear night. And earlier tonight, as is the custom here, August A. Busch Jr. came in on his Clydesdale powered wagon. To the acknowledgement of this big crowd. Brewery, of course, owns the Cardinals.
I think 52 or 53 was the period that Mr. Busch purchased the Cardinals, and this is his 6th World Series participation. 3 in the 60s, 3 here in the 80s.
And the amazing thing about this franchise is up and over $3 million this year as Coleman takes a strike. The Dodgers have owned that attendance championship seemingly forever. And LA drawing $3 million with some consistency, but this year the Dodgers were under, and the Cardinals and Mets went over, and the Cardinals led all of baseball in attendance. Just remarkable. Coleman fouls it back. And the other thing about the Cardinals, they would have drawn even more, but they had some weather problems. They lost some dates to rainouts. Remember, they had those back-to-back doubleheaders with Los Angeles. Otherwise, they would have done about 3.15, 3.2. That's grounded down to Herbeck, who stays with a wicked hop, and not in time. Probably hit the seam as it came through the box. Otherwise, it would have been routine.
That's exactly what it did. All hops on the rug are relatively routine and true, with the exception of the cutouts. And there's no way to bobble one with Coleman running. Let's see. Yep, hit the seam or the dirt. Certainly changed the spin on the ball.
Well, look how late Blyleven's there. Looks like he'd already beat him anyway. But again, it's a very tough play only because the ball stayed down. But if Blyleven was a little earlier, he may have thrown the ball a little harder.
Now Smith, and now we'll watch Blyleven's move. That's a complete stop, and the pitch high, ball 1. Little doubt about that stop.
Right there, struggling. He knows he has to hurry. Trouble getting it out. Blyleven, it's a tie anyway. It goes to the runner. He's safe. Just give your first baseman a little better perspective if you get there early.
It is scored as a bad hop single.
That's a good score. I mean, a good scorer by the scorer.
Blyleven quickly going back to first base. And again.
Remember, of the 39 runners that attempted to steal second, 32 were successful. We're talking about a guy at first now with 109 steals, 107 last year and 110 his rookie year.
He has 4 in the series, too. Lou Brock with the all-time record. He had 7 in 1967 and 8.
Blyleven's gone to first 4 straight times. There's a complete stop and a 5th throw. And again, that's what it says in the rule book, a complete stop.
Well, the key, though, Al, is when he is going to cheat, when he comes to a complete stop, most likely he is going to go to first base. When he's going to quick pitch, he'll come right there, and that's his stop position, and he goes to first. When he's going to go home, he may not pause as much. That's when you either call the balk as we see a pitch out.
He came to a complete stop that time, little doubt. 2-0 the count. A stop Coleman bluffs. Smith bunts up the line. Good bunt, and everybody's safe.
Ozzie Smith, in an article in the St. Louis paper today, offended because the media was referring to certain types of innings as Cardinal types of innings. Well, this is how the Cardinals score their runs. An infield hit for Vince Coleman, a bunt single for Ozzie Smith. It typifies the way they have to score runs.
And it's only the second time in the World Series that Coleman and Smith have gotten on back-to-back. Tommy Herr is at the plate. Herr 0 for 2, and the Twins have to think about the bunt with Gaetti and Herbeck playing in. Outside, 1-0. To left field, fading on it. He has a play, does Gladden, and the runners hold. So one away here in the 6th inning. Herr is now 0 for 3 with Coleman still at second and Smith at first. And it will bring up Danny Dreesen, who has flied out and grounded out and is 1 for 10 in the World Series. So Herr cannot get the bunt down, and the Cardinals still have runners at first and second, and the Twins could get out of the inning with a ground ball.
Tommy had 2 chances of making outs and advancing the runners. Even if you can't get the bunt down, you still have an opportunity to pull the ball and get the runner to third base, unless, of course, they turn the double play. So Tommy with 2 chances in effect.
Cardinals, of course, have already run their way out of 2 scoring chances tonight. 2 on and 1 out. 1-0 in the 3rd inning with Oquendo at third in the infield back. Jose hesitating on a ground ball to Gagne, playing deep, and Gregg came home to get him. And then the 2 strikeout and aborted squeeze for the double play to end the 5th. The runners go. The pitch is inside, dropped by Laudner. He wouldn't have had a chance anyway. And Ozzie acknowledging with Coleman, all right, double steal.
Not only did he have a good jump, but watch the pitch that Laudner has to handle. A curveball down and in, and he can't grip it, and even had he gripped it, there's no way to get Vince Coleman.
Now the count 2-0 on Dreesen. McGee on deck, and remember, McGee led the National League in grounding into double plays this year. So it's not the worst thing in the world if they walk him, and it's 3-0. And Laudner makes a nice play to keep us scoreless with Coleman at third. There's McGee, first base open, and Willie, of all people, and you could have gotten 10,000 to 1 that he would have led the National League in double plays. He grounded into 24.
Good play by Laudner again, and they're going to walk Dreesen. So once again, Tom Kelly's done his homework.
Bases loaded and 1 out, and Willie McGee now.
He also drove in 105 runs this year, too.
And he's also hitting .467 in this series coming into this game, even though he's 0 for 2 tonight. So, but your playing percentages. I mean, Whitey did say, I didn't think he'd hit 25 or 24 DPs in his career. He did it in 1 year. Let's chronicle it. Knee problem, came back in the middle of April. Had a solid year, though. 285, hitting just about the same for both sides. So, but he's the type of guy, hits the ball sharply, hits the ball in the middle of the field, and on AstroTurf, you've got to get some tailor-made double plays.
Well, also, Blyleven had enticed the hitters to hit into 32 double plays. That's a lot for that type of pitcher, and I bet he did it mostly with curveballs.
So the man who was second in the American League faces the man who was first in the National and grounding into them, and it's a strike, 0-1. 0-2, another curve. strikeouts.
Well, we talked about the 14-1-0 games he's won. This is how you can put yourself in a position to do it when you have bases loaded, one out. You got a strikeout pitch. And because he's shown so many fastballs tonight, you really don't know what to look for. It's exactly what Paul Molitor said. You can't sit on one pitch. And then when you get 2 strikes, you look for the ball. The spin's so tight on that curveball, he never picked it up.
Kurt Ford now with the bases loaded, 2 down. Cardinals for the 3rd time in the game, a man at third. And trying to get him home, and Coleman bluffing down the line.
But the stretch takes care of that, Al. If you go into a full windup, guy can bluff you, more apt to balk. When you take your stretch, and he's in the stretch position, you really limit what Vince Coleman can do to you in this situation with 2 outs and a man on third.
1-0.
Talk about getting a good pitch to hit here. He's going to try to throw it to the center of the plate, hope it runs in or out, and throw a strike. You got a young, as you said, a young, aggressive hitter. Hasn't been around that long, only in his 2nd year. Will he be patient? Will he get a good pitch to hit? That's the question here. I don't think Blyleven can afford to really find out. He's got to throw a strike.
He does, and it's 2-1. Fastball on the inner half.
Again, you throw it for the middle of the plate, and it just happens to run in. It turns out to be a perfect pitch.
Coleman, Smith, and Dreesen with 2 out and 2-1 on Kurt Ford, who has popped to third and grounded to second. And he hits that one into center field to score Coleman. Here comes Smith. The throw is going to third. He's safe there, 2-0.
Tonight it's Kurt Ford. Ford missed 2 months of the season, as Jim Palmer has been saying, with that bad, broken right hand. Kirby Puckett indecisive. He throws late to third. Dreesen safe. Ford to second. New hero every day.
Yeah, had Dreesen been out on that play, Smith was across the plate. So it would have ended the inning, but it still would have been 2-0. There's Coleman. And Kelly goes to the mound, and they get active in the bullpen.
I believe right here, when you consider that both Oquendo and Pena have 2 hits apiece, he's coming out to see who Bert Blyleven wants to pitch to. Let him make the decision. As we said, over 4,000 innings. You should take a look at Keith Atherton. It's not to the point where he's so tired he's going to take him out at this point. Another base hit might do that. But who do you want to pitch to? You want to pitch around somebody? You want to make the perfect pitch? And Oquendo's hit the fastball to left. He's hit a changeup to center, and Pena's hit 2 fastballs away to right field. So maybe you want to change the pattern. And maybe that's why Tom Kelly communicates so well. He's going out to see what he wants to do. Leave it up to him.
Meanwhile, the Cardinals have taken a bad hop single and used that as a fulcrum for a 2-0 lead. That and an Ozzie Smith bunt, and then Ford's 2-out single. But the inning started when Coleman hit one through the dirt, and Herbeck couldn't handle it. Strike. 1-1. Dreesen at third, and Ford, who advanced to second on the throw to third, away to his lead.
What's so pristine as far as this being a Cardinal inning is that on a 2-1 pitch, Ford didn't try to jerk it, get it right back up the middle, get a 2-0 lead. Cardinal baseball.
2-1.
Pristine. Outstanding. A clean hit up the middle, huh? Well, Blyleven can afford to throw the breaking balls to Oquendo right now, even when he's behind in the count, because first base is open. He's got a place to put him. He couldn't do that with Ford hitting.
3-1 on Oquendo. Pena on deck.
Look at another breaking ball here.
Is grounded to Gagne, who drops it, boots it, and 1 run scores to make it 3-0.
Out, and then terminology vernacular is when you miss one like that, you kicked it, and he eventually did do that. Play he makes just about every time. I mean, as you said, Al, best defensive club in the American League, least amount of errors. He'll tell you should have made it. We all know that.
Gagne made 18 during the regular season, but that is not necessarily that many for a shortstop. Pena at the plate.
That's only the 3rd error by Minnesota in this series. The Cardinals also with 3.
1-0 the count. Pena the 8th man to bat in the inning. Gaetti to Lombardozzi. But the Cards get 3 in the 6th. And at the end of 6, 3-0 St. Louis. And he hits that one into center field to score Coleman. Here comes Smith. The throw is going to 3rd. He's safe there, 2-0.
This is what started the bottom of the 6th inning. The bad hop infield single by Vince Coleman. Watch the hop. It stayed down. Herbeck can't retrieve it in time. A very close play at first. I mean, very close. Now here's Kurt Ford with a count 2 balls and a strike. So you saw what started it, and for the most part, what interrupted it. Jose Oquendo ended the scoring on the error by Greg Gagne, 3-0 Cardinals.
So now Danny Cox with the Cardinals 3 runs, 7 hits, and no errors, and the Twins no runs, 3 hits, and 1 error. Will face Brunansky, Laudner, and Lombardozzi, and after sort of a shaky beginning, and there's Blyleven, Cox not really in complete rhythm, even though he is working on a shutout. He has now retired 9 of the last 10 men he has faced, so he is very much in the groove.
Well, they always say the sign of a good pitcher is you can win when you don't have everything going for you, and that's certainly been the case tonight. You can see he's mixed up his pitches in the change-ups right, even more so. Did not throw any. I don't think he threw one the first 3 innings, and he's been using it very effectively the last 3 to get here to the 7th inning.
Now, meanwhile, Cox is in the mid-70s in terms of pitches. What Whitey, of course, would love more than anything else would be 5-run bottom of the inning. And a huge lead, because what he has to begin to also think about right now is Danny Cox, a 7th game possibility, and he'd have to pitch that on 2 days rest. Laudner, swing and a miss, 0-1. That was his 76th pitch. So he's on a pace on which, if he went all the way, he'd throw about 112. 0-2.
I think really what he wants is 1 more inning.
And then he knows he's got Worrell, Daly.
If you talk to Todd Worrell, the more he pitches, the better he feels he's going to be. Thinks he can even throw harder. He was only throwing 97 miles per hour the other night.
Cold, strike 3. Brunansky shaking his head and giving way now to Laudner. And Tom Kelly, much as Whitey was dreaming about Lambert, the runway at Lambert the other night, I think Tom is thinking about the runway at Minneapolis-St. Paul.
The only thing that makes that And maybe this is what makes Danny Cox's slider so good, is the way he caught that ball. Almost handcuffed him a little bit, Tim.
Widen the bullpen busy. It's 3-0, top of the 7th. The pitcher, if anybody gets on, Bert Blyleven's spot is hitting, and no action in the bullpen.
Atherton was up in the last inning because Blyleven was in trouble, but he's not. And so nothing happening in the Minnesota pen at the moment.
Maybe Keith is ready, but if Minnesota has a big inning, I suppose, then Berenguer or Schatzeder or perhaps Reardon could get ready. Jeff Reardon only one appearance this series.
That's another thing that Kelly's got to think about as well. Even if they are losing 3-0, you might want Reardon in there just to work an inning to stay sharp.
I talked to him before the game, and he said he will see some action tonight to get ready for game 6 and 7 if necessary.
With the off day tomorrow especially.
You can't let a guy sit around since, what, last Sunday where he had an inning, and then go to him in game 6 when he hasn't been out there in, 6 days.
Blyleven, for the moment, has his helmet on. But there's no way when you're down 3-0 in the 7th inning. Strike.
Well, Tom Kelly, be honest, he did say it is more difficult to manage without the DH. And he admits it, but he's done it before. He did it at the minor league level. And this isn't something that if you talk to Tom Kelly, you know how intelligent he is.
The thing is, what he objected to is they ask him questions like he's got to come into nuclear physics to manage without the DH. He says, hey man, I know how to manage. Down goes Laudner, and Cox knows how to manage the Twin lineup right now. That's 6 strikeouts for Danny, 3 in succession, and Lombardozzi is the batter.
Kind of an upper deck look at the low and away slider. You see Laudner swing over it, and that's what you're going to do on that good slider, and that's literally what it does. It slides away from the right-hand hitter, slides in from a right-hander to a left-handed hitter.
And the Twin bullpen will get busy. As Lombardozzi takes a strike. 0-1. Again, it is Atherton. There's Blyleven on deck, but that's just window dressing. There's no way he comes up if Lombardozzi keeps the inning alive and Atherton throwing in the pen. Bert out in the on-deck circle because the rules say somebody has to be out in the on-deck circle. 1-1.
Amazingly similar to the playoffs when they come back and having to win 2. Giants don't score for 18 innings. 8 runs, come into here, 1 and 2 runs, none tonight.
It's an amazing game, and we love it, and so do millions of other people. And I mean, go figure it out. Go start at the very top. The Minnesota Twins, 6th last year. The St. Louis Cardinals, a battered and bruised team. The Twins look like they're on their way to a series sweep, and the next thing you know, the Cardinals are on the verge of taking a 3-2 series lead. Go figure it.
I think what's the stat that it's only the 2nd time in World Series history that 2 teams with losing records were in the World Series the next year.
The only other time, oddly enough, it was the Twins in '65 against the Dodgers. And LA 1-7. The 2-out rally caps. 3-2. And he loses him. So Lombardozzi with the walk, and he becomes the first base runner for the Twins since the 5th inning when Steve led off with a single. Blyleven called back. Rourke on the phone to the Cardinal bullpen, and Gene Larkin will come up.
Number 9.
Does that magnify the error by Greg Gagne? It's only 2-0 every time anybody gets on. The tying runs at the plate. It's not to really add more blame because, you know, it was just an obvious play that he makes just about every time, but it does change the strategy of the game, both from Tom Kelly's standpoint and from Whitey Herzog's.
And Todd Worrell will get ready to start throwing in the St. Louis bullpen. Larkin coming up here with 2 out. Lombardozzi at first base in the 7th inning. Larkin is a switch hitter. This year he hit .256 as a left-handed batter and .286
as a right-handed hitter, and he was 5 for 17 with 6 runs batted in as a pinch hitter. And he hits it high in the air to left center field. Coleman going back, engages it, and that's that for the Twins. No runs, no hits, lead 1 after 6.5, 3-0 Cardinals.
Success Stories, brought to you by Citicorp.
During his 10 years in the major leagues, infielder Al Weiss had a reputation of good field, no hit. But in the 1969 World Series, Al changed all of that. Batting .455 and hitting a key home run in the 5th and final game, Weiss helped power the Miracle Mets past the heavily favored Baltimore Orioles. Al Weiss had survived on his defensive skills, but it was his bat that succeeded in helping the Mets achieve their first ever World Championship.
Well, we know one thing. It's on to Minnesota, where John Tudor will work on Saturday against Les Straker. Viola would pitch a 7th game. We know that, against maybe Cox on 2 days rest. We don't know. What about the way the rotation is set up to balance of the series, Jim?
Well, you have a rookie against one of the best pitchers in the National League, and that's Straker against Tudor. I mean, Straker pitched the game of his life the other night, 6 innings, shutout ball. But I'll tell you what, he's never been down. You know, he's up 2-0 versus being down possibly 3 games to 2.
Keith Atherton comes in to pitch now in the bottom of the 7th inning with Danny Cox to lead off.
What is so interesting is that the most dominating ball club in their home ballpark will be going back, and the situation will be they'll have to win 2 ball games. And if you're going to pick, as far as excitement is concerned, if you're going to pick a club to do that, you would pick the Minnesota Twins. 60-25 this season, as you see Keith Atherton, the new pitcher.
And while some debris is removed from the field, Atherton waits. It's 3-0 St. Louis. Cox, Coleman, and Smith in the bottom of the 7th inning. And Danny fouls it straight back, nearly into Jack Buck's radio booth. 0-1. Well, the Twins, before they were the Twins, they were the Washington Senators, and 10 consecutive road losses in World Series play. 1925, the last time this franchise won a World Series road game. So there it is again. At Pittsburgh in 25, against the New York Giants at the Polo Grounds in 33. At Dodger Stadium, they lost all 3 in 65. And now 2 so far, and 6 outs away from making it 11. Still 2-2. Tom Kelly, who watched his team come into St. Louis up 2 games to nothing, is now watching the World Series even at 2 games apiece, and his ball club trailing. Cardinals 3, Twins nothing. Bert Blyleven out of the game in the bottom of the 7th inning. Danny Cox, who's pitched brilliantly for St. Louis, leading things off and grounding one to Lar Bardozzi. 1 away here in the 7th inning. And Coleman will be the batter. This Sunday, an international first on ABC Sports. The Soviet national basketball team takes on the NBA's Milwaukee Bucks in Milwaukee. The McDonald's Basketball Open tips off live 3:30 Eastern this Sunday on ABC Sports. And then on Sunday night, if we go to 7, 8 o'clock Eastern time, would be Game 7. Meanwhile, remember, it's a day game on Saturday. Day game Saturday for Game 6, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time. Coleman, 1 for 3, and that 1 was the bad hop single that began the 3-run rally. 1-0. 2-1 on Coleman. Whitey Herzog. Coleman at the plate. His cousin, I think a lot of you know, Greg Coleman, is the Minnesota Vikings punter. And the Vikings were scheduled to play in the Metrodome against the Denver Broncos on Sunday, and they've had to move that game back to Monday. 3-1.
That's what we were talking about last night. Vince Coleman's career year this year is because he takes pitches. I mean, they're going to throw that same pitch. 2-1. That's now it's ball 3. He's going to throw him another fastball right down the middle of the plate. He's going to get the same pitch 3-2 because if you walk him, it's a double.
3-1 to Coleman. Is ball 4. So Vince is on, and up comes Smith. Reardon in the bullpen. Meanwhile, we understand that the football game in Minnesota will be moved to Monday only if there is a 7th game with the Broncos playing the Vikings. Ozzie Smith, 1 for 3.
Or did Ozzie start the season off slowly in a new position, batting second? Only did it about maybe 67 times last year. Done it all this year, taking a lot of pitches. Slow start. Came on strong.
Coleman goes, huge jump, hit foul by a jumping Hacker. And the count 0-1.
Ozzie will do that sometimes with Coleman running, regardless of the jump he gets. He knows he's going to get a fastball with Coleman on first, and he'll try to pull it in that hole. Coleman would have been safe, but Ozzie Smith kind of mixes it up. Occasionally he'll give Vince a chance to steal. And the first game here in St. Louis, you saw him square around the bunt. He took the bat back. He mixes it up. As a matter of fact, we've spoken about the fact that he's driven in 75 runs this year. 32 times he drove in Coleman. Good play by Atherton.
Well, that's one of the keys to trying to keep a guy like Vince Coleman. When he gets on, you can throw over there, you can try to get rid of the ball quickly, or you can hold the ball and hope that the base runner commits himself. And he did, but he didn't throw over there. He had him leaning, committed himself, quick move might have gotten him.
And a balk. And a balk. I believe it was Dave Phillips or Terry Tate at first base.
Well, anybody can call it.
I think they called it in unison. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, that was clearly a balk. 13% of all the balks committed in 1986 were committed with Vince Coleman on base. 22 of them.
That is not a balk. If you run that back, he did pause, he did stop.
Think so?
Yes.
I thought he was coming up when his hands were coming down, as you explained it earlier.
Maybe.
I'm sure we'll see it again.
Gee, that looks just like game 2 when Whitey was out there. Of course, you know, I'm a little bit prejudiced, but I didn't think he balked right there.
Terry Tate called it, also Dave Phillips. Ken Herbeck talking to Terry. Of course, you got to realize more balks are called in the National League.
Now the rule is you have to stop. That's a stop.
I did
not see the leg come up before the hand stopped.
Seeing it the second time, I agree with you.
We talked to Kenny Kaiser, and he said it's the interpretation of the umpire, and that's all that matters.
Meanwhile, Reardon has been summoned in and will be summoned out for the moment. We'll be right back. We're back with Reardon on the mound. 1 out, Coleman at second, and Ozzie Smith with Coleman going to third. The pitch is high, the throw is too late.
There are just some times when somebody has better ability than you could contend with. And this is one of those times. You saw the balk. Once again, he just beats the throw. You can't get rid of the ball quickly enough, get it to the catcher, have him throw to third to beat a guy with speed like Coleman. First guy in National League history to ever steal over 100 bases 3 times. And I hope Ricky Henderson was not sitting at home the other night and thought that I said Major League history, and I might have said that because he did it not 3 years in a row, but 3 times.
Smith fouls it away with the infield playing in, and the count 1 ball and 2 strikes.
That, by the way, is the 6th stolen base in the World Series, 1 short of Lou Brock's record, set twice. 1967, and then he tied it in 68. He didn't set it twice. He set it once and tied it.
And it's grounded, knocked down by Lombardozzi, but too late to do anything with. For nothing.
Well, another Another example of Cardinals speed. You're not playing it in. It's a routine ground ball to second as Dozy tries to knock it down. Makes Smith a better hitter if Coleman doesn't get balked to second, steal third. We have seen 4 runs, and they could be directly contributed or attributed to the speed of the Cardinals.
We've seen 4 runs on 1 ball hit out of the infield. Kurt Ford.
That was hit through the infield.
Tommy Hurst. Smith goes, pitch inside, throw to second, too late.
Well, another high leg kick. Bad pitch to throw on, up and in. And Smith, who had 43 during the regular season, steals another one. Throw a little bit into Ozzie. The throw's on the money. That's going to be very close.
George Frazier now in the bullpen.
And that was one of the matchups out before this playoff series. Whether it's Reardon, whether it's Atherton, whether it's Blyleven, the wrong guys get on, they're off to the races.
2-0.
And the only way you can contend with that is to put runs on the board like the Twins did in game 1 and 2. And they still ran, but it doesn't matter then.
That's the thing about speed. You don't have to hit to be productive. If you have to hit to be productive, I mean, you actually have to make contact with the ball. A power hitter for the long ball. With speed, not so.
2-1 the count. Ripped into shallow left center field, actually a looper off the handle, and it's caught by Gagne for the second out.
Jimmy, you're an ex-catcher. What does it feel like when you know they're going to run and you can't do much about it?
Well, you feel like you're antsy, trying to come out of the crouch a little bit too quickly. You start doing things that you can't do. Your footwork speeds up, and usually the body is in front of the arm. You start dragging the arm through. You start doing a lot of things that you're not capable of doing. It's like trying to hit a 5-run homer, or like trying to strike a guy out on 1 pitch, things like that.
Meanwhile, Rourke got on the phone to the bullpen, and again, Whitey now with a 4-0 lead, and maybe thinking about Danny Cox and trying to conserve as much as he can. Strike, 0-1. So Worrell gets up, and so does Daly. Daly, the lefty. Toward the hole, Gagne is there, plants, throws, no, too late. And the third is Smith. Dreesen, for an elder statesman, still runs fairly well. When he first came up, he was very fast.
A good pitch if you're going to hit it to the left side to get out of the box. So you can see him out on his front foot. Timmy said in the first game, that's one of Gagne's strengths, to be able to plant. Look out to me.
Yeah,
he was out.
He did.
Yes, sir. One of the few calls I don't agree with in this World Series. Umpires have done a good job, have not, as we talked to Kenny Kaiser, really been an obtrusive factor. They've just done their jobs. And
yeah, the only argument was Whitey talking about Blyleven walking. As McGee fouls it back in the count 0-1. 0-2. Willie tonight has been stymied, grounded out, struck out twice, but he still has 7 hits, 7 for 18 in the series. And McGee is gone on strikes. So the Cardinals in the 7th inning are done, but they pick up another run. 2 hits, leave a couple. To the 8th we go. 4-0 St. Louis in Game 5.
IBM presents You Make the Call. With a runner on second, a batter attempts a sacrifice bunt. He then clearly runs out of the baseline and is hit by the ball, which remains in fair territory. Can the runner score? You make the call. Anytime a batter runs out of the baseline and is hit by the ball, he's out. The ball is dead, even if it winds up in fair territory. If you said the runner couldn't score, then you made the right call.
Al Michaels with Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Danny Cox working on a shutout as we go to the 8th inning. 4-0 St. Louis as they try to take a 3-2 lead in the World Series. You know, looking back, remember when Oquendo was thrown out on the aborted squeeze and then the double play? It goes into the books as a caught stealing. Would you like to guess the last guy to steal home in a World Series game? Take a guess, Jim.
Jackie Robinson.
Take another guess. Think about it for a minute. Think about it, and we'll give you the answer shortly. 8th inning, Dan Gladden at the plate, and it's up high, ball 1. Gladden, Gagne, and Puckett. 4-0 St. Louis.
No, it wasn't me.
No, definitely wasn't you.
McCarver, my partner.
Believe it or not.
Another groaner.
This is a groaner.
As a matter of fact, if you can believe it, 1964, a steal of home, a throw through to second, and there's McCarver crossing the plate.
Tail end of a double steal, big deal.
Meanwhile, Gladden with a base hit into right field. But who would have thunk it?
You know who the lead runner was? Mike Shannon, who is now the broadcaster with the Cardinals.
Well, what a speedy pair that was, huh?
Well, you did lead the National League in triples one year. I mean, I remember that from the '85 World Series. Big ballpark or what?
It was this ballpark, yeah.
With grass.
Keep tossing me bones, don't you?
Well, when are you going to tell everybody I walked with the bases loaded? They pitched around me in the '70 World Series. Respect for my hitting ability.
Gagne at the plate with nobody out. Gladden at first base in the 8th inning. 4-0 St. Louis. Bunted, and it's a good one, and it's a base hit. So the Twins, not rolling over, have runners at first and second and nobody out as Gladden starts with a single. Gagne gets a bunch single, and up comes Kirby Puckett.
Well, great play because you're 0 for 3. You see where Oquendo's playing way behind the bag. He's giving you the bunt, and you take it. The only problem is executing, and he, as you can see from that camera angle, he did it perfectly.
Mike Rourke trotting to the mound. Herzog would make the move, so this is just a visit.
Tell you, and we brought it up last night, it is a credit to this ball club that they keep coming back like they do. The Tigers had them down 5-0 in Game 3 of the ALCS. They ended up beating the Tigers 4 out of 5. They came back to take a 6-5 lead, and as you said last night, Pat Sheridan's home run, the loudest hit that the Tigers had that whole series.
But the one thing you can't escape from is that they played about 32 games the second half on the road, and they won 9 of those, and then you get to the well, San Francisco in the 7th important game, a 6-0 shutout. So it looks like they're going to give an opportunity to really, at least at this point, to get into the 8th or maybe through the 8th, depending on what happens. They just haven't played well on the road, at point about Minnesota. They did it against Detroit, winning 2 out of 3, but now they've lost 2 in a row and are looking at another one.
Whitey might be thinking here, Cox pitches to Puckett, Daly comes in to face Herbeck, and then he goes with Worrell.
Right.
That's a fly ball to center field. McGee is there, and that's the first out. So 1 away, and now Ken Herbeck comes up. Herbeck is 1 for 3.
Well, once again, where do you go when you need a good pitch to Puckett? You go inside because he's swinging at a ball. That ball's about 6 inches off the plate. And it's, as Rick Rennick, one of the coaches, said, when he's hot, he can hit that pitch, but he's not hot.
Meanwhile, here comes Whitey, and as we suspected, he was going to face one more man, and he's going to bring in the lefty. He's going to bring Daly in here. He's also going to make a double switch, bringing Lindemann in to play first base. As he tells Ken Kaiser exactly what he'll do. So Daly will come in to face Herbeck, then you'll probably see Worrell to face Gaetti, and we'll be back. Danny Cox, and what an ovation he got as he walked off the mound. Natural sound.
changes for the Cardinals.
So there he is, Danny Cox, who very well could be back on the mound on Sunday. As Ken Daly now comes in. Daly last night came on in relief in the 7th inning. Worked 2 2/3 innings, faced one man over the minimum. Gave up a single to Don Baylor, and that was that.
Very impressive, came in and got Gaetti out on a strikeout, and then Brunansky to pop up. An amazing story. The ligament transplant from the right wrist to the left elbow came back since last October to have a 9-5 year, his best year for the Cardinals.
So Herbeck now at the plate, takes outside. 4-0 Cardinals, 8th inning with 1 out. Minnesota has Gladden at second and Gagne at first. Routine for McGee. 2 guys. Now Gaetti, now Herzog, now Worrell. And the Cardinals are 4 outs away. Big man out of the pen, Todd
Third
Worrell.
baseman Gary Gaetti.
Working on Gary Gaetti with 2 out and 2 on in the top of the 8th inning, 4-0 St. Louis. Gaetti is 0 for 3. Worrell, the Rookie of the Year in '86. Sort of an amazing thing when you think about it. Worrell, who goes so hard, there's Lindemann, the first baseman. Todd, the Rookie of the Year last year. Before he was classified as a rookie, he'd come up in '85. By the end of the year, he was the ace of the bullpen. He pitched in the World Series. He struck out 6 in a row, a series mark. He was also involved in that disputed play on the Orta ground ball at first. He did all those things before he was a rookie, only because he didn't pitch the minimum number of innings. 1-1.
And then when he became a rookie, he led the league in saves.
Yeah.
An off year this year, only 33. Now this is about 98 miles per hour. This is one of his strengths, getting the ball away. The other night he came in on Gaetti, and that's the controversial play, the line drive that Oquendo snagged. Controversial in the sense that we didn't think he should be playing down the line. He's not playing here tonight.
To center field and deep, very deep. McGee goes all the way back, leaps and has it. And then it comes out of his glove, so it's in play, and Gaetti winds up at third. It looked like Willie was going to be able to come up with the ball, and all of a sudden it came loose. So the Twins pick up 2 and have Gaetti at third as McGee goes all the way back and can't hold on.
It appeared that the ball hit the heel of the glove. A lot of times outfielders expected, yep, it hit the heel of the glove that rolled around and then came out.
Well, back to the wall, you can see his right hand feeling for it. Doesn't quite get all the way to the wall, but you can see him pushing himself. And right here, big glove. Sometimes useful, not on that play. Ball came right out of it.
Oh, that's an amazing picture. He never had control of it.
It's a 3-run home run in the Metrodome. It's only 408 feet.
Well, you just think about it. The heel of the hand is the hardest part of the hand, and the heel of the hand in the glove, that's the hardest part. And that's how the balls get jarred out of the glove. Rarely in the webbing, unless, of course, you run into the wall, and the wall had nothing to do with that glove.
In the air to center, playable for McGee, and that's that. But the Twins have the lead. Get 2 after 7.5. St. Louis 4, Minnesota 2. Little McGee still can't believe it. Neither could the crowd, and we called it as a catch initially because with the naked eye, that's exactly what it looked like. But it rolls around and comes on out.
Does everything right except catch the ball. It gets back. I think the momentum of really trying to go back, and the ball makes his glove hit the wall, and then you can see right there the whiplash of the glove. Disappointed, frustrated, because what it's done really, and not be shitty that he should have catched it, is put the Twins back in the ballgame.
And the crowd response was for a spectacular catch, and then almost in disbelief. What's the ball doing rolling back toward the infield?
Yeah, it would have been a terrific catch if he comes up with it.
Bottom of the 8th inning. Ford to lead off. Ford, Oquendo, and Pena with Reardon working. 4-2 Cardinals. When the Twins bat in the 9th inning, they're at the bottom of the order. They are 7, 8, and 9. The spots occupied right now by Lautner, Bardozzi, and Reardon. And on the bench, left-handed batters, they have Smalley, who's the switch hitter, Randy Bush, and also the switch hitting Newman. Strike. On the other side, they've got Don Bailey, right-handed batter, and Mark Davidson. To Puckett in center. One gone.
Third baseman, Jose.
Ford is out, number 1, and Jose Oquendo is the batter. Oquendo 2 for 3. Oquendo thrown out twice. Once coming home late, Gagne throwing him out on a ground ball off the bat of Coleman. The other time thrown out when Cox struck out on a 2-strike bunt, and he was caught off third on the squeeze attempt. 0-1. Jose Oquendo. What a godsend he's been for Whitey Herzog, especially the way things turned out late in the year. They can do so many things with him, and he's been alternating between right and third in the World Series.
And he also alternates between right and left sides of the plate also. And it's an interesting story about how he became a switch hitter. We talked earlier about Jim Fregosi, who was the manager of the Louisville Cardinals, a AAA affiliate, a couple of years ago. Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals played an exhibition game down in Louisville. And Jose at the time was batting 190. And Whitey said, Jim, if he's going to hit 190, he might as well do it as a switch hitter. If you remember, he was a switch hitter. He tried it for the Mets, but it was on the big league level.
And Oquendo gone on strike, so 2 down here in the 8th inning. And Pena the batter.
There are a lot of things you could do in the minor leagues where you don't go through all the pressures and rigors of having to win. Because in effect, that's really what the minor leagues are. They're a training ground to win in the big leagues.
And develop players.
Right.
He didn't hit enough, or he'd probably still be with the Mets. Charlie Gagey Johnson did not think that, if you look at Joe McRae, didn't think he was going to hit. A lot of people think that he could be one of the better shortstops in the National League, but not playing that position, nor will he here in St. Louis unless you pinch hit or you take him out and rest Smith.
2 out, bases empty, strike to Pena. Should note, by the way, talking to Herzog before the game, he got a telegram last night. The fans are always sending telegrams with advice. He got one last night that said before the game, don't play lawless. Kelly got one that said, we're behind you all the way, let's do lunch, signed by 3 secretaries in Minneapolis. Of course, Tom is very happily married with 2 children.
It's unusual that they say do lunch in Minneapolis.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, that's an LA term, isn't it?
They must have heard you and Steve Zabriskie when you did about 15 minutes during the summer.
There's Lawless. Toward the middle, and by Gagne, base hit. So Pena tonight with 3 hits. Tony now has 6 hits in the series and 16 at-bats. And Jim Lindemann, when he came into the game, remember they made the double switch with Daly, so Lindemann came into the 9th spot in the order.
Well, this makes batting instructor Johnny Lewis so happy because in this big ballpark for the Cardinals to be successful, they don't want to hit fly balls. If they do, they're going to be caught. They're not home run hitting. So you top spin them. Even Blyleven, after about 15 outs, 9 of them were on ground balls. So they have been hitting the ball on the ground all night long, and they have 4 runs to show for it.
Tonight, for instance, and to reinforce your point, they have made 3 outs in the air to the outfield. 3.
Meanwhile, Pena checking his foot. The reason for the delay. On the subject of Lawless, how about another look? Amazing the day and age we live in. I said, what'd you do last night? I said, well, we had a lot of family and friends, and we go back to the hotel together and turn on the cable, and we watch it. He said, it's like I'm out of my body. It's not me doing this.
Great thing about that picture, where did the bat land?
The bat never came down. It's like Jesse Orozco's glove last year when the Mets won it.
Right.
Things like that never come down. They stay up there.
They stayed up. Lance Johnson, meanwhile, will run for Pena. So Tony has to come out. And the good news for Herzog is that tomorrow's an off day. If it's anything more than a very minor little sprain. And that means it should be Steve Lake coming in to catch in the 9th inning. They also have Tom Pagnozzi as a catcher. Strike, and the count 0-1. And the report we're getting from the bench is hamstring, right hamstring for Pena. Gene Gieselman right there to check it out. Johnson goes, Lindemann swings and misses, and the throw is too late. So Lance Johnson, yet another typical Cardinal rookie, speed, singles hitter.
As a matter of fact, this is his first appearance in the World Series, and on the second pitch, he gets a stolen base. The only player on either side not to be in a ball game yet, John Morris with the Cardinals.
Really haven't had a chance to use John Morris, whose strength is coming off the bench as a pinch hitter.
Cardinals with 5. As Johnson makes it 5, and Lindemann strikes out and can't cash him in. So the lead is still 2 as we go to the 9th. Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver, Game 5 of the World Series. The St. Louis Cardinals on top by a score of 4-2, and Al Newman to pinch hit for Tim Laudner, who was 0 for 2 tonight. And what Kelly's doing here, down by 2, Laudner is the all-or-nothing type hitter, strikes out a lot, has power. Steve Lake is the new catcher. He needs a base runner. So Newman comes up and takes a strike. And he also got to have a left-handed batter up there.
And he's got Roy Smalley on deck and Randy Bush probably in the hold to hit against Todd Worrell.
Smalley to bat for Lombardozzi. 1 ball, 1 strike to count. Routine for her. 1 guy. Steve Lombardozzi is the batter. Lombardozzi due up, and of course it's Smalley to bat for him. And then Bush out on deck. One and 0. 2 and 0. 2 and 1. 3 and 1 on Smalley. And Smalley is on, so he's able to work Worrell for a walk, and the Twins will get the tying run to the plate. And Randy Bush comes up to hit for Reardon. And it was Randy Bush with a big 2-run double in Game 2 as part of that 6-run 4th inning.
On a changeup. 3rd consecutive one, and when Worrell got him out to end the game, really end the bottom of the 8th the other night in the Metrodome. What did he get him out on? A changeup, and he had a real good swing at it. I would think he'd stay with the hard stuff, make him hit the ball to the fat part of the park here at Busch Stadium.
One and 0.
Lindemann at first base playing Smalley way behind him. No idea about holding him on. You go on the theory that Smalley's run is no good. Cardinals up by 2, and now it's Mike Rourke again to talk to Todd.
Probably more about mechanics than the fact that Randy Bush hit 11 home runs, and they've already gone over those scouting reports, and looks to me that he's having more mechanical problems than knowing where to pitch him. New catcher, though. You know, Tony Pena with a hamstring. You have Steve Lake in there. A little bit different target. Certainly not as low as Pena. He's down. We won't be in this situation with somebody on if he was catching. But see Jim Lindemann playing behind Roy Smalley playing percentage baseball. And cut away that hole.
1-1. Deck is Gladden. Shallow right, Herr goes out. 2 guys. And Dan Gladden, 1 for 3 plus a walk. 2 gone. Smalley at first, tying run at the plate.
Reminded on any ball to throw the ball to second base. Remember, Smalley's run does not count. Gladden's does.
1-1.
That's why it's proper to play your outfield deep in situations like this, similar to guarding the line philosophy. Because you are trying to hold Gladden if he does get to a hit, holding to a single. But the outfielder's reminded to throw the ball to second base. Under no circumstances, make a throw to third to try to get Smalley should he go.
1-2.
The interesting defensive alignment is that Oquendo is off the line at third, but Lindemann is guarding the line at first. So it tells you they don't expect him to pull more well.
Neither did we the other night.
Well, that was Gaetti, though. That's 2 different hitters. He threw the ball right by Gladden the other night.
2-2. It means Smalley will be off and moving with a pitch. On deck is Don Baylor. And the Twins still kicking. All 4. And like Smalley fouling off a couple of strikes, Gladden able to work him for a walk. And the tying run is at first base, and Gladden has good speed. That means the ball in the gap, and the game could be tied. And Don Baylor is a guy who can put a ball in the gap.
And if you had your outfield deep with Gladden hitting, you're going to play the outfield deep with Baylor hitting.
Number 18, Don Baylor.
And it's very deep.
Willie McGee in another county out in center field.
He is in Illinois, and there's a big gap in left center. And there's Ricky Horton in the bullpen. So Baylor with 2 on and 2 out. So noted by Kelly.
And will take one for the club and hit 225 times, and he will take the inside pitch and just get hit, turn right into it.
Half swing foul, 0-1.
I'll tell you, here's the situation. I wouldn't guard the line. You're trying to win the game. You're not trying to prevent a loss. You're trying to win. And a ball in the fat part of the infield with Worrell throwing, you got a better chance of winning with a first baseman and third baseman in the fatter part of the field. The game's over if that happens.
Fly ball, shallow right. Herr goes out, and in this World Series, there is absolutely no place like home.
ABC Sports and Major League Baseball present the official 1987 World Series highlight video cassette. All the dramatic moments, exclusive interviews, and special camera coverage. Send $19.98 by check, pay $3 for postage and handling, or use Visa or MasterCard. Call 1-800-4ABC-VCR. The preceding announcement was furnished by Major League Baseball.
This telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Tom Kelly is with us after the game, and he's with Reggie Jackson. Reggie.
Thank you very much, Al. Not a fun job being a manager at a time like this, but Tom Kelly, you get to go home tomorrow.
Right, Reg. We're going back now. We played a good ball game tonight. One bad inning where Herbie misplayed a ball, and then Gagne misplayed a ball. They only hit 2 balls out of the infield and ended up with 3 runs. But, you know, we battled back, and we had a chance to tie the game and go ahead in the 9th. But, you know, they give credit to the Cardinals. Cox pitched an outstanding game, and Worrell. So we got to come back at the Metrodome, do the best job we possibly can, and we'll be ready.
Who's going to pitch for you Saturday?
Well, Lester Straker did an outstanding job the other day for us, and he's going to get the ball on Saturday.
Why has your ball club had so many problems on the road?
Well, I think it's basically just a tough pitching. Cox, outstanding. Tudor's been outstanding. Yesterday, they didn't pitch as well as, you know, they can, and we only managed a few hits and runs. I'm having trouble finding out the reason why. Nobody seems to know a reason.
Question for you again, my last question. If Les Straker pitches 6 good shutout innings again, what will you do?
Well, I think we're going to yank him out of there. I'm not going to go against our philosophies. We've seen him pitch all year like you have, and he gets 5 or 6 good innings in him, and the 7th inning he seems to fall apart. We'll see where we're at and how he's throwing the ball, and we'll make our decisions then, but we start to get nervous about the 6th.
Go back to the Metrodome, where you're obviously going to be the favorite. We'll see what happens up there Saturday afternoon. Back to Al Michaels.
Okay, Reggie, and we'll see what happens at 3:30 Eastern Time. So that's the story from Busch Stadium. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver, Reggie Jackson, good night from St. Louis. The final score, Cards 4, Twins 2, and the Cards lead 3 games to 2.